Good morning, class. Happy Thanksgiving week to everyone. Hope everyone has something fun planned this Thanksgiving. This week I'm going to utilize the video response in my discussion post as I feel that is what I need the most work on. And as such, we were talking about emotional intelligence this week. I have to admit this is not the first time that I have studied emotional intelligence, whether it was a previous class or readings outside of the book. I have before heard that there is a connection between a high emotional intelligence to leadership success. That is not necessarily something new for me. What I do, however, find interesting is that there seems to be a gap between what is awarded and what is spoken as something of importance. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that I have noticed in any performance review that I've been a part of in my career is that there's never really been any mention of emotional intelligence. What I find interesting is that most employees and supervisors and managers and leaders included will they will replicate and they will perform based on the responses of such reviews, based on the critiques, based on the rewards and recognition. And as such, not having emotional intelligence within that particular arena bodes pretty poorly for a supervisor and employee to take that particular situation with any seriousness. In fact, one of the things that I found while researching is that there's meta-analysis that indicates that many managers and leaders are actually just mood managers, in that they are trying to manage the moods of their subordinate and employees in an attempt to influence and project positive emotions. And as such, once that occurs, the employees actually found that employees have higher job satisfaction. Another indication that emotional intelligence has some type of variance in all of this. As far as the leader that I chose to study this week, or at least highlight, one that I know fairly well, his name is Dave Ramsey. He's best known for his work with Financial Peace University. He actually is a New York Times best-selling author. He authored a book called EntreLeadership, which is his personal playbook on how he operates and runs his business. And there's a couple of things that he exhibits in the book and in his stories that I feel display positive ethos and is an indication of his emotional intelligence being inflated. One such thing that I found that was different than almost anybody that I know was in his hiring and firing process. When he actually hires an employee, once the candidates are finalized, he will invite the candidate and his wife, and he will also, at least in the preliminary stages of his career, would invite his wife as well to have a dinner, to have like a final interview meeting. And one of the indications on why he did that is because he found that his wife can see things that he can't. And I have to actually agree that that's the case. My own wife, she's like a profiler. She sees things that I'm very sequential, I'm very logical, but she will see and read things that I cannot see, and therefore she can tell if a person that I am hanging out with or discussing with is a good person or not. I can only imagine that would be a very positive thing to have when being a leader and building a team of people. One other thing that he does is he's incredibly gracious. He understands the fact that his business will live and die with his employees, and as such, the level of graciousness that he has is actually fairly epic. It's very awarded in the city of Nashville, and especially his Christmas parties are something of a local legend. In fact, he goes above and beyond. He will literally roll out the red carpet and puts on these massive productions to just in the sole effort to ensure that his employees understand how much they care for him. As far as An area of improvement that I would say that Dave Ramsey needs on an emotional intelligence level, there's not a whole lot, but I do know that he is very sound in his ways. He's very, one would say, old school. He wants people to be on time. He does not allow remote work. And he's very just set in his ways on that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but as we progress into an age of kind of a socialistic pressure of things of that nature, flex time, people that do want to work remotely, and that's something that is a prized highlight of trying to get people to work for them. The emotional intelligence level may decrease a little bit on that. For the four competencies, of the four competencies, the one that I would say that I need most help with is social awareness. And one area that could really use that help is social media. I pretty much despise social media. I personally think there's more bad than good, and as such, there's just a whole group of people that I'm not reaching or that I'm not participating with. So I would have to say, of the four, social awareness would be the one that I would need the most work on. As far as two specific goals that I have for myself to improve my own emotional intelligence, one would be to actively listen. I have the tendency to listen, and more than listen, I'm listening to solve the problem. I'm not listening to necessarily be empathetic or sympathetic. I'm listening to, if I hear a problem, I am a problem solver, and so immediately when that is communicated to me, I am after a solution. If I could just subdue that tendency to solve the problem, and even maybe ask the person, hey, how can I help you? That might actually bode well for me as far as a connection technique with an employee, and as far as exhibiting positive ethos and exhibiting a high emotional intelligence. The second goal that I have would be to grow my personal network. Again, like I said before, that is really hard for me to do. I don't do social media, so growing a network, that might be a little bit challenging, at least preliminarily, growing the network. I will say that I do agree that I should apply myself to existing networks within my degree platform. Being in organizational leadership, I can imagine that I would have a lot of positive response to something like the American Management Association, but I do have to admit that I'm not really sure I'm not really sure of a whole lot of other groups that deal with organizational leadership. So if there's anybody in the class that has any suggestions as far as a group or a niche of people that specifically talk and network for organizational leadership, I would be most obliged to hear your response. Thank you, and again, have a great Thanksgiving.